Good morning, everyone. There you go. Welcome to our faculty, welcome to our community, welcome visitors from near and far, welcome especially to our students. This conference is for you, so congratulations, you made it early on a Thursday morning, and you're here not only because your professors promised you extra credit. My name is Feinstein. I'm proud as your dean to host this conference at a time that calls for our country to come together to address challenges we face at home and in the world. Since we met last year, our school's name has gotten even longer. We are now the Hamilton Lugar School of Global and International Studies. As the people in this room know better than anyone, there are some compelling reasons for adding the names of Representative Lee H. Hamilton and Senator Richard G. Lugar to our school. We wanted first to acknowledge the role they have played in the school's establishment and development, and they both serve on our board, which met yesterday. We wanted to honor the contributions they've made and are making to our state, our country, and to the world. And we hope and believe that invoking the names of these two pragmatic idealists, one a Democrat and one a Republican, will be a tonic for our times. That their example will inspire us and remind us of the importance of coming together to celebrate differences and seek shared understanding so that we can better evaluate and address the challenges we face. Today, it's especially appropriate to acknowledge the congressmen and senators' influence because they helped to establish this conference. 4 years ago, when the three of us were deciding on a conference theme, the United States had a different president and a different Congress. The UK had yet to vote to withdraw from the European Union. The global democratic recession had yet to extend to countries where the rule of law seemed secure. And the historical global refugee crisis had yet to reach its peak. But even then, it was clear that our country was deeply divided on what America's role in the world was and what America's role in the world should be. We often talk about how hyperpartisanship and polarization damage our democratic institutions and weaken our ability to address the challenges we face at home. But polarization is a foreign policy problem too. Congressman Hamilton and Senator Lugar are part of a long lineage of outward-facing, forward-looking voices from the American heartland who have confidently supported the idea that our country is better off and the world is safer and more just when the United States engages with the world on the basis of pragmatism and principle. Here in Indiana, our governor has spoken of the importance to our state of looking beyond our borders. At this conference in this room 2 years ago, he said, "Globalization is a fact of life," adding, "To think you could retreat from that would be to be in a state of denial." Amid the politics of grievance that defines our time, bipartisanship and attention to nuance are wrongly equated with an absence of conviction, an unwillingness to speak truth to power, a surrender of principle. This has it back to front. In truth, real change, ambitious change, change that is profound and sustainable is possible only when we depart from groupthink and only when we build coalitions of difference. Senator Lugar and his Democratic counterpart, who is chairman of the Senate Armed Services Committee, Sam Nunn, have given us a powerful example. To help break free from Cold War orthodoxy and to forge a path for a new century, they proposed what was seen at the time as a radical idea: to provide assistance to our adversary. They proposed paying suddenly unemployed nuclear scientists from the former Soviet Union, who just a few years earlier were developing deadly weapons aimed at US cities and military sites, so that nuclear workers would not be tempted to sell their skills and services on the black market. To partisans, this seemed like a crazy idea. handing taxpayer money to the designers and makers of deadly weapons with the power to destroy the United States. But Senator Lugar knew that while there might be an ideologically purer alternative, none offered a practical way to keep loose nukes out of the hands of terrorists or tyrants. And in the same way, Congressman Hamilton has supported bipartisan, innovative solutions on arms control and climate through the Bipartisan Partnership for a Secure America, which he founded. And he helped to forge national unity in response to the terrorist attacks on New York and Washington, D.C. on the 9/11 Commission, which he co-chaired with Tom Kean, the Republican former governor of New Jersey, at a time when this country badly needed it. The hesitation to invoke the common good, to enlist public unity for a shared goal, may be understandable. The minor wins of transactional politics are easier to achieve and advertise in 140 characters or less. Rallying diverse constituencies to act together on the world stage similarly requires a level of thoughtfulness and knowledge of differences that deal-making does not. It requires us to go out into the world, as our students do, to learn languages and cultures and history of the world. Former Energy Secretary Ernest Moniz, who will join us tomorrow, said recently that the United States must keep talking to Russia, despite Russia's interventions in Ukraine and Syria and insidious interference in our own elections. Not as a favor to Russia, but because we share an existential common interest with them. And the best way, the only way for the United States to fulfill its own national security imperatives in this regard, Secretary Moniz says, is for Americans to build a bipartisan alliance between parties and between presidents and Congress before we sit down with our adversaries. Such alliances won't mean that everybody is in total agreement. As Carol Giacomo, a member of the New York Times editorial board, has written, Carol will moderate the conversation with Secretary Moniz tomorrow at 11 and is here with us today, and next year also as our director of our Poynter Center. Last year, she commended the willingness of policy experts from think tanks as divergent as the American Enterprise Institute and the Center for American Progress to sit down and discuss issues. As she writes, truth-seeking and analysis between people of opposing views are likely to lead to better policy. And that's why we're here today and what we seek to do. We don't expect to agree on a single approach, but I hope we will come closer to the bedrock principles that Senator Richard Lugar and Representative Lee Hamilton have championed. Thank you and welcome. I have a few program notes before we move on. First, the auditorium we're meeting in now also has a new name. At just around this time last year, two of our school's longtime benefactors, Jefferson and Mary Shreve, made a generous gift to support undergraduate and graduate scholarships and fellowships, as well as supporting this space so that we can continue to invite speakers and events held in this auditorium. It made sense to name this hall after them, and we thank them very much for their generosity. We have a hashtag for the conference, so please share your media posts with the hashtag @ARW19. Is that up here somewhere? Maybe it will be soon. And also, please copy our Twitter address @HamiltonLugar.